Who's that?
We also have a wonderful student here who will be opening for us. She goes by the name of Miss Gretchen.
Alright, so Gretchen, don't kill me for butchering this. Gretchen Carvajal? Carvajal?
It's like Carvajal.
I love you. Okay, so she is a Bay Area native Filipina poet from the First Wave Hip Hop Urban Arts Scholarship here at UW. She recently published her first chapbook called Daughter of the Sun, which focuses on the intersectionalities of brown women and Filipino Americans. All the proceeds of her chapbook go straight to the grassroots organizations rebuilding communities affected by Typhoon Haiyan. Please welcome Gretchen Carvajal.
Come on, Gretch!
So this first poem is an iPhone poem. Don't judge my life. It just be like that sometimes. Oh, how's everyone doing tonight? Everyone Gucci?
I love you, Gretchen.
Cool, cool. All right. So this poem is a poem I wrote for a very difficult relationship I have with a man named Donald Glover, or Childish Gambino. I'm just gonna leave it at that. To Asian girls who let Childish Gambino turn them into dragon ladies, I understand why you let him. I know what it's like to use your ethnicity as a uniform. Put on the accent you've been working so hard as a comedy routine. Laugh when they call you Lingland and claim the stereotypes given: submissive, quiet, women of cherry blossoms and ginger root. We're little girls that were never raised to love ourselves. Children that were taught that perfection was the only goal you needed to attain but could never get your hands on. Our mothers seldom allowed us to believe that we were as beautiful as we were. So we found our radiance in the throats of other men and video girls we would watch and clear histories of after we grew up together. Taught each other what it looked like to hate self and love fake cat eyeliner, Instagramming because 100 likes is all the validation you need to see yourself pretty. When the only role we can play in movies is exotic girlfriend and brothel bitch, you start to think it's okay to get stepped on. Childish Gambino. I've been trying to be okay with you turning my body into a Chinatown, but that would just be too typical of me. Too expected for me to fall for your dorky suburban comedian charm. Too white for black girls, too black for white girls. You said finding you was like finding Asians I hate. But they say I got a fetish, now I'm skipping all of it. Black or white girls just come with a set of politics. That's all I'm saying. That's all you were saying. All you were saying is that it's so much easier to love women who don't know how to love themselves. Thought brown girls were just a cop-out, just enough wild card and not enough sacrifice, offense to kick your feet up on so you wouldn't have to choose a side. I need you to stop trying to find your comfort zone in my vagina. Need these girls to step up and look in the mirror before they step up and look into the closet desires of any man's sisters. We are better than that. Daughters of steel cow lilies who taught us how to hold sustenance in the balance of chopsticks and fingers, daughters of immigrants. Our roots grow too deep for us to play Halloween costumes for men who crave nothing but the Orient in us, so I'll learn you. The fragility of a broken black boy from the suburbs is a yearning I will never understand, but would never take advantage of. I'm better than that. Baby, don't mistake dog eaters for dog-eat-dog survivors. Don't mistake dragon lady with fire breather. Small eyes for cross hatches to burn fools like you. This ain't payback, boo, this a lesson. So get your pen and paper out and get to writing something worth remembering. I dare you, Donald. Call me that thick Filipina chick in your songs. And I tell you like, thick Filipina chick, woman in the punchline, insecurities to blame for it. Foolish if you think you'll find yourself inside an Asian clit. Lost boy you be. Identity ain't in the mystery of the dragon lady that you make me to be. So back the fuck up. Back the fuck up before I fight you. Mama taught me how to hold machete and to slice you. Men that ain't deserving never ever have the right to turn a woman into a possession in their sight view. So what's a rap verse and a punchline to a real woman? Gonna have to come a little harder, but you still couldn't. I'm too much for these whack MCs, I'm three much for these stereotypes. You foolish if you think of me as any kind of archetype. You childish. Thank you. Yeah, so I feel. That's how I feel sometimes. Just be in my room just like, fuck you, childish. Fuck you. But I love your music still. I'm so conflicted. It's my life. This next poem is something I wrote. When I wrote this chapbook, my sister, who is queer, my older sister is queer, and her and her girlfriend were going through the process of like artificially inseminating and like having a baby for their own. And so I wrote this poem while her girlfriend was pregnant. She, my niece, Olivia, oh no, sorry, I have so many nieces, my niece Layla, she was born in March, and this is a poem I wrote while before she was born, basically. And it's just about what I wish for her. To Ziggy. Don't ever think you're half nothing. Like the shape of your cheekbones or the angles in your nose don't show you brown enough. A sperm donor is a different form of blessing. If God allowed Nikki and Abba to make you how the Bible said, Nikki would have put on a tuxedo and stood on a wedding cake with your mother in a white dress. But God made them all egg with no seed. So all they had were prayers, papers of men and their genetic statistics. I will always protect you from the wolves. When playgrounds start looking like storm clouds, and the closest thing you have to Father's Day is Mother's Day. When other 5-year-olds ask which one is the boy and which one is the girl, and point at your mamas, who both have long hair and hidden smiles, I hope you can see the miracle in yourself. All my sisters ever wanted to do was call you Ziggy. We gave you the formal name Layla Jade as a truth, as a sign to the rest of the world that you are dark beauty, as a constant reminder of the luck we have to witness your existence. You anomaly, you magic. We've been waiting for your company for so long. Don't you love babies? It's just like, damn, babies are so adorable. But then you're in college and you're like, fuck babies, bro. Like, hell no, no ma'am, no ma'am. That was so ratchet. I feel terrible, but my entire life is ratchet. That's actually the title of my new chapbook. My entire life is ratchet. Actually, that's a considerable title. This next poem I got from some poets that I saw online and at CUPSI, which is the College Union's Poetry Slam Invitational. And it was like this poem that they wrote to themselves called Unsolicited Advice. So I wanted to write one for me because I feel like I needed some unsolicited advice, and I feel like there's a lot of like girls, like Asian girls, brown girls, whatever, that don't hear poems like this, so I kind of wanted to fill that void. This is a lot, but it's okay. Unsolicited advice to short girls with crooked pinkies and formidable faces, after Jean Ann Verlee and Tanya Ingram. When the Temptations start crooning, don't kiss him back. When the divorce is a possibility, do not take sides. You are not collateral damage when a boy teaches you how to say I love you in a language he doesn't even fully understand. Realize that this is the truest testament 18-year-old boys can give. When the subway cashier calls you ghetto, demand that you get the $8 you paid for that $5 footlong back and then sun him. When the ESL teacher makes you read, the fox jumped over the farmer's fence again and again, enunciate, spit words through teeth until jaw turns into barrel and words into gunpowder. When Midwest Filipinos call you too militant. When they ask why you care so much, do not elite yourself. Do not question their upbringing. Do not think your Phil-Am is not their Phil-Am. Learn how to turn trauma into an olive branch into an open palm, into a blossom heart. When the Italian boy in your 3rd grade class calls you a fob, tell him he deserves the rock you threw at his forehead. When brown folks say you don't belong, tell them about Larry Itliong and Philip Veracruz. When black folks say you don't belong, tell them about Grace Lee Boggs and Richard Aoki. When Asian folks say you don't belong, tell them you'll still be there for them. Tell them you'll be sistering. Tell them you'll be topographical map of diaspora. When white folks say you don't belong, give them the finger. And tell them to build their own railroads. When poets tell you that this poem is overdone, give them the finger. And remind them that ain't nobody ever looked out for Asian girls. When someone asks you why you use papaya soap, tell them you've been wanting to be invisible for so long. When the tripe dude hits on you on the train, politely say you'd rather not watch the bootleg Fast and the Furious at his cribbo. When the Temptations start crooning, don't kiss him back. Don't kiss him back. When your sister tells you she is lonely in the middle of a bathroom in 2007, learn how to cup your hands around her tears and figure out what loneliness means in a house full of women who share your middle name. When your sister comes out, do not tell her you expected it. Tell her you'll be godmother to her first child. When your sister tells you that the same man has hurt her again, do not roll your eyes. Do not confuse hate for a weak man with understanding the fragility of a woman. When your sister starts writing poetry, do not think this is a phase. Do not be mad because this is your thing. Give her a notebook and realize that you both find it easier to talk to paper than to talk to bodies. When your parents leave, realize that they are people. Do not call them on their vices. Do not expect them to be safety net. You're grown. When the Temptations start crooning, don't kiss him back. When people say you've changed, tell them you were tired of being ashes, tired of being blessing with no purpose. When you pray in the middle of a church to be the best poet the Bay Area has ever seen, make your goals bigger. There's a reason why God gave you tongues that spit power in 2 languages. There's a reason why your father fed you fire ants when you were 3. A reason why you are 510, why you pale, why you brown, why you Phil Am, why you hip hop, why you scholar. Intersections that you manifested into belonging with your bare hands. You were made for this. You will strive for this. Built to survive. A generation lost. A people lost. A compass rose. When you find your true north. When you hear your own voice. When you stare at the sun. Do not look away. Alright, I got 2 more poems. Is that cool? Is that Gucci? Yeah. Can you guys say it was Gucci though? Can you say like, yes, it's Gucci?
It's Gucci.
Alright, awesome. Oh my god. Oh, please. Can you say it was Gucci, please? Is that less demanding? Gotcha. Oh, where's that poem, y'all? Dang. Page 2. Dude. So how many people over here love their moms? Raise your hand. Don't lie like you don't love your mama, people. Do not hesitate. People's like, no, you love your mom. This poem, I asked that for a reason. I'm not just crazy. This poem is a poem I wrote for my parents. I'm a 1st-generation immigrant. Shout outs to immigrants. And that was like a really crazy move, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially for my parents, I feel like I owe them so much. Like, for me, like, everything I do is for my family and for the legacy that holds, my last name holds. And, yeah, that's what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, for my parents to be able to leave a country that they grew up in for like 40 and 50 years, like, for me, for my future, that's a big deal, you know? So, I wrote this poem. It's called it's like a biomythography is a, like, damn, Franny knows what's up. I saw her nodding. You know too. A biomythography is basically like a story, like a biography you make out of myth also. So you like make up this biography based on myth. So I turned my parents into a mihan and habaga, which translates to east and west wind in Tagalog. So I turned them into winds. So this is my poem dedicated to my parents. It's a biomythography called A Mihan and Habaga. My mother and father were the east and west winds, who met while the churches donned paroles and the brown boys and girls were caroling outside the luneta. As soon as they collided, they knew they could never just be wind again. So they held their breaths in embrace until the pressure built a light in the both of them. This is how you build a sun in a third world country. Wind cannot make anything grow. It only breaks and disciplines skin. Once, Mama and Papa forgot how to dance together and a hurricane broke loose. So they tied an asteroid belt around their shoulders in an infinity sign and promised not to let the gravity drown them. Papa is diaphragm and laughing eyes. Let's stay together in September. He is car engine and garlic oil and the best adobo this side of the Manila Bay. He is comedic timing and organ keys, a reminder to laugh every morning and sing in your sleep. Mama is bare hands and secret smile. She is disco and guitar strings. She is calculated. She is a beauty queen and sinigang on cold days. She is what Formidable was named after. Taught her daughters how to stone face and reminded us to save the soft for a wind who will only make a sun with us. Immigrant parents are the universal symbol for sacrifice. They are the winds that keep their children at bay, even if their children become winds of a richer land, of the first world. They are the light that grows them, and the light that humbles. They are the reason why the flowers bloom, and why the fruits still ripen. Great, thanks. So I started with a poem dissing a celebrity, and I'm going to end with a poem dissing a celebrity. Because people just suck. Like, okay. Sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I'm awesome, but people suck sometimes. And then I hair flip, and then the world is better. So, I mean, I fucking hate Katy Perry. Like, who doesn't? Every time I talk about Katy Perry, I, like, want to punch someone. So just don't talk to me about Katy Perry, because I'll punch you. But, JK. But not really. Be ready. That was hella trifling. Okay, so this is a poem I wrote for Katy Perry. I really want her to see this one day. I'll put it on World Star. Because Katy Perry totally looks through World Star. Words for Katy Perry. Fantasizing in a parasol, clad in kimono and china bangs, backed by taiko drums, does not amount to culture. Unconditional has been a word forced upon us since comfort woman, since mail order bride, since geisha. You wear us and get rapport. We wear ourselves and we question the mirror before we leave the house. Check backs of ear for traces of too much jasmine. Check our necks for soft skin that could be taken advantage of. Check soles of our feet for made in Asia stickers. So we try you on. Because this is what girls in my country do to be beautiful. But the holes in your eyes are too blue for us to fill. And the melanin never correlates. This is how the world reminds us we're second best. Notice that you were the only one that didn't need to wear white makeup. That the people closest to the culture you stole from are in the back of the scene, pantomiming. Because this is the American Music Awards, right? Appropriate, or appropriate, is a word people like you need to know the definition of. Emulate is just a fancy word for knockoff. No matter how much silk you can buy, you will never be Pearl of the Orient. Who wants to watch the sweatshop you're making of yourself, producing a product that will never be authentic, no matter if we're behind you, no matter how much you Madama Butterfly us, Miss Saigon us, Memoir us, Geisha. We will always be realer than your struggle. I used whitening soap to take, like you did. But I stopped using whitening soap to take back what you thought you was serving. Thank you. Please give it up for the next poet who's about to get up on this mic. She's raw as fuck, y'all. I want you to know that I definitely, like YouTube, stalked the shit out of Franny Choi. Like, you don't know. Now you know. But you did it before. Okay, that's it. Okay. But yeah, thank you guys so much for this set. Thank you, AASU.
Alright, everybody. Can you please give Gretchen another round of applause? That was freaking amazing. Alright, so tonight our headliner, Franny Choi, is here. She will be selling her book after the show. It's right over here. And also after her performance, there will be a mini Q&A session. But I'm going to introduce to you all Franny Choi. Franny Choi is a Korean-American writer, performer, and teaching artist. She is a Pushcart Prize nominee and the author of Floating Brilliant Gone, which was published in March. She has been a finalist at the 3 largest adult poetry slams in the nation, and her work has appeared or is forthcoming in Poetry, Pink, Radius, Fringe, Epigee, and others. Her play Masked Dances has been staged at Brown University's Writing is Life Festival. As a project voice, teaching artist, and Providence Poetry Slam coordinator, she is dedicated to supporting young writers, both in her local community and in classrooms across the country. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Franny Choi.
It's been such an amazing day hanging out with AASU and all of you guys. Fuck, Gretchen, you fucked up my whole life just now. Jesus, thank you. My life is just different now. Alright, let's try to make this work. There we are. I'm going to start things off. That's a hot mic. I'm going to start things off with a poem called To the Man Who Shouted, I Like Pork Fried Rice at Me on the Street. You want to eat me out. Right, what does it taste like? You want to eat me right out of these jeans and into something a little cheaper, more digestible, more bite-sized, more cooked. You want me lunch special. Thank you, come again, come. I am greasy for you. I slick my hair with MSG every morning. I'm bad for you. Got some red light district between your teeth. What does it taste like? Tastes like a takeout box between my legs, an easy meal, a guilty pleasure. You want me delivered to your doorstep with a smile. Thank you, come again, come again. I am a plastic bag lady. I am a flimsy white fork to snap in half. Dispose of me. Rumor has it, I taste like dried squid, salty and metallic, making your lips puffy with my salt. My lips puffy, my lips brimming with foreign, so call me pork. Call me curly-tailed obscenity been playing in the mud. Call me dirty meat, worms in your stomach give you a fever. Call me dead meat. I'm a butchered girl. And you only like to eat things that are chopped up into pieces of pink, unrecognizable as a body. You a candid cannibal. You want me bite-sized with no eyes staring back at you, but I've been watching you from the slaughterhouse. Don't think I've forgotten those pastures I once wandered freely. These nerves still remember how to curl with the current, long after my spine's been sliced out by the men who first named my body edible. You think you're the first to sit at this table? The first to pick my bones clean with your teeth and demand a nice cookie at the end, telling you a lucky man. Now here's some lottery numbers. Go and take what's yours, giving you ancient wisdom. You want me ancient. You want me long dead, an artifact. You think yourself an archaeologist. You think yourself a sushi chef. Proud of how nice and fresh you slice this flesh, how pretty them squid-legged trophies floating cold and useless as rice noodles. But listen closely to the squelches in your teeth, and you'll hear my sows squeal, screaming murder between your molars. Pour soy sauce over my squid muscles and watch the salt awaken a writhing in my synapses. Watch me kick back to life. Watch me tentacles and teeth. Watch me resurrected electric. What does it taste like? Tastes like revenge, squirming alive in your mouth, strangling you quiet from the inside out. Thanks. All right. So I'm gonna read some poems. I'm gonna read some poems, tell some stories, probably tell a few bad jokes. So thanks for coming along on the weird ride that is going to be this set. I think I didn't even need to do that fucking poem first, but I just got so excited about being here, and I was like, everyone looks so attractive and wonderful, and I just jumped right into my favorite poem to do. So whatever, fuck the first poem. Here's the third/second poem. I'm going to read a short poem and then go straight into a longer piece. So you know, don't freak out. I don't know why you would, but oh, this one is called it's called Kimchi, and then the second piece is called Wire Woman. But the first piece, yeah, kimchi. Do people know what kimchi is? I think, okay. Wow, this is the only room I've ever said that to, and every single head nodded. Amazing! Oh my god, Asian student groups! Oh, I love it. Okay, great.
Wait, what's kimchi? I don't know.
Oh,
Damn it! Damn it, Tim! God damn it!
Here, that's good. That's hella brave. I commend you, sir. Kimchi is a Korean side dish that is like present at every meal. It's a kind of a staple Korean side dish, and it's like spicy pickled cabbage.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's spicy.
Alright. My parents' love for each other was pickled in the brine of 1980, spent 2 decades fermenting in an airtight promise. Their occasional salt caught a slow acid fever, began to taste like a buried secret. They choked in each other's vinegar, dug for pockets of fresh-cut love, once green and whole, now a shrunken head, floating in a casket. Every night she pulls it, messy and bare-handed, out of the jar, slices it into slivers, and we all swallow, smiling through the acrid burden kicking in our throats. She was young when it happened, barely years old when My mother only mentions it once every few years. When she does, for a moment, a window clicks open, the air buzzes with sudden light, and then it's same old radio silence. My mother is a wire woman, steel cables holding a whole city's telephone secrets, the weight of histories that are only ever spoken sideways into receivers, and we are a flock of sparrows perched along her tightrope spine. She was years old, a mineshaft. Through the static come rumors of how she was forged in furnaces, drawn tight through pinholes, stretched between the twin poles of old and new countries, marveling that the voices she carried had learned to flap in such strange accents. These days, her nerves are tangled up like the guts of time-tick explosives, red wire, blue wire nights where we learned to tiptoe talk around the house. She was years old, a mineshaft, braces. She is iron claws wrapped around a crooked teeth family. She holds us up. We cling for dear life, our talons digging into her shoulders so that her electric bites back, lightning insides leaking out, snapping like feedback screeches when our frequencies scrape against one another. She was years old, a mineshaft, braces, chain link, wire woman. Stretched thin all her life, left her frayed in a few places, crooked sentences fuzzing out, her story darkened with censor blackout holes. She is a string of legends hanging like constellations upon a sky of silence. Oh, that this night would break and her stormlight ring through. My mother was 14 years old when her own mother died, left behind a mineshaft of a home, a crater full of hungry mouths. And so, to claw her way out of the debris, my mother grew adamantium tendons, set things straight with the strength of braces, pulled a household to its feet, and her heart became a chain-link place. I know my mother's past only through the shapes of its reverberations, like some telegraph operator ticking away somewhere 40 years ago. My mother speaks like a radio tower, bombed into static rubble, but there is still a sharp kick of electricity coursing through this frame, and she is still broadcasting her frayed and splintered love through a web of steel cords wide enough to embrace a city, sparking life into its walls, sending the humming ripples of mouths barreling through miles of copper tunnels and into waiting ears. Over the telephone, my mother's voice comes through, thin and full of holes. Make sure, plenty of sleep. You. And as always, she speaks loudest in her silences. For my mom once for her birthday. My parents have birthdays really close to each other, and I was broke. It was my first year out of college, and I had no money, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll write you a poem. It's like priceless." And then so I wrote my mom that poem. I wrote her a slightly different one where there's more like a, my mom's so strong, and not so much of the like, my mom is crazy. And then I wrote my dad a poem as well, and so this is the poem I wrote for my dad. He actually went to UW for grad school in the sciences. Yeah, so he's like a science geek. So I wrote this poem for him. Open letter from Jessica Alba to my father. Dr. Choi, we've never met, at least not in any physical or biblical sense, but I'm a huge fan of your work. I mean, I've always sort of been a sucker for sodium bicarbonate transporters, so it feels really good to get all this off my ample and perfect chest. I mean, you're a big deal, Dr. Choi, and that's coming from the artist responsible for Spy Kids 4, all the time in the world. I don't mean to brag, but it's in 4D, so. To be very frank, can I be very frank, Dr. Choi? Well, you're the reason I took on the role of Dr. Sue Storm in Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. I thought maybe if I put on a pair of sexually repressed nerd chick glasses, I could be just like you. It's pathetic, I know. Anyway, congratulations on winning Us Weekly's Who Wore It Better Lab Coat Edition. I know people say you're always just getting into Us Weekly without actually getting any new NIH grants, but industry secret, that's the point. Oh, Dr. Choi! Lately, I've been seeing your face everywhere, and not just at the 2013 Renal Science Awards or Reenies. No, I see your face in every beautiful, ethnically ambiguous, middle-aged Korean man I see on television, and not even in a racist way. But the funny thing is that I hear you do the same for me, Dr. Choi. Word on the street is that you ask your daughter if every JCPenney model and mildly brunette reality TV star is me. Jessica Alba. Maybe it's because don't know the names of very many celebrities. And why should you? I mean, we spend 2 years at acting school or an hour in the back of Michael Bay's van. Pick up a few movie gigs if we're lucky, and then quietly go on our way. Nothing, I'm sure, like the life of a scientist. All the glitz and glam, the designer test tubes, the nip slips at the physio convention red carpet, Billy Bush constantly jumping out of trash cans to ask about your favorite hibachi restaurant. I can't imagine what it would be like if the world cared as much about what I had to say as they do you. If I were the one in the spotlight, and you were the unknown one, the humble, everyday magic maker, hidden away in a little lab, discovering entire worlds of truth without even a glance from the peeping Tom eyes of America. If everyone and their immigrant father knew my name, but thought yours was just a hassle to pronounce, what kind of screwed up world would that be? And then, of course, the version that I actually sent to my dad was less, like, awkwardly sexual. But, I mean, I hope. God, I hope. Okay, here's a poem. The structure of this poem kind of comes from a poem by a lovely spoken word poet that I called Rachel McKibbins. And the poem is called Chinky. It's a short one, so don't freak out. I know that nobody is freaking out, except for me, so it's okay. Okay. 1. Letter from the world to my eyes. How do you get so slice? So razor pinch, all flat-like, all puff and sting. What's your allergy? Hi bucktooth cartoon, hi war patty, hi refugee, spit, take it, tight lids, dagger flick, stick shift, tease, lemon juice, widescreen, we all scream, what are you, mad? Seething in the corner, cat squeezing fish spine from back. What are you, blind eye? What are you, cockroach? What are you, gleaming all teeth, no iris at the sun's grin? 2. Letter from my eyes to the world. Act like you've never seen a pinhole camera. I drink every, condense light into its smallest body. Skin it awake. Okay, here's another short poem. I have a background somewhat as a in the community organizing world of Providence, the city that I live in, the beautiful city that I live in, 401. That's the area code for all of Rhode Island. We're very small. Yeah, and so a lot of the organizing work, you know, I worked primarily in a Southeast Asian youth organization, and we worked sort of hand in hand and in solidarity with some of the other organizations, organizing in some of the different communities. And this is a story, I think, about, or a poem about broken solidarity and sort of like the pain of when you think that somebody has been your ally and it's discovered that they're not. Which I think is one of the most painful, like, betrayals in the world. Okay, it's called Bait. And this is the person that this poem is about. It was an organizer in one of these sort of sister orgs. We've brought our friend Emilio back to his apartment after finding him sloshing down Mountain Ave, a raft in an unseen storm. He is spilling over the lid, but still wants to go to the party. He is smiling with every tooth at the darkening night that we know is all around him these days. We try to coax Emilio back from the gangplank. He's still laughing, the deck pitching his body like a whale juggling its prey. We are trying to smile, crooning calm waters, when Emilio reaches out, hooks his fingers into my scalp and says, "Chinita, chinita bella," before he is pulled down. Then he's in bed. Then we are driving away, unsure of how to apologize to each other. I can't touch anyone without crying, so I look out the window, let the trees play back the memory of tentacles in my hair, of how small I made myself, how I pleaded, quiet as a bird knocked out of the air, how the dog knows why it's kicked, declawed by what it calls friend, how I'd seen the clouds gathering in his eyes just before he hit the water, and how I know that storm all too well, the secret, always swimming beneath the surface of every grinning ally. Cool. I think a lot of times poetry for me is a way to put words to the intangible, to put words to try to name the things that are kind of nameless, and those things that are beyond any logical explanation. And then I think for me, the sort of like, the two things that I probably, or the things that I probably write about most are race and gender and how those, and privilege and power and how those things intersect. And then also, I have been writing over the past few years a lot about the loss of somebody close to me. There's somebody who's very close to me who died very suddenly. And I used to think of those things as really separate, but I actually really think that the kind of like daily act of like, the daily experience of like being seen and being called like unhuman or less than human, which like people of color and immigrants and women and trans folks experience every single fucking day of their/our lives. That's a kind of loss too, right? Like that's a kind of like daily tiny death that we are always kind of dealing with and trying to heal from. So for me, those things aren't. I've kind of realized that those things aren't really that separate. So anyway, so all of that is to say that we're going to do a poem about that loss. It's called Notes on the Existence of Ghosts. When my boyfriend's mother called to tell me that he was dead, I was standing in a CVS holding a bag of Halloween candy. For a long time, I could only write about him in metaphor. Lucky for me, the world is full of ghosts. Example 1. Leaves stained onto the sidewalk from yesterday's storm create gray-green watermarks on the pavement, like the negatives of pressed flowers, like the ghost of a letterpress still whispering up from the page. A sidewalk is a deeply haunted thing. 2. I understand the gravity of a train from the empty space and warm afterbirth air of recent loss which I encounter when I run down to the platform 30 seconds too late. It is the same with all things of such weight, to know them best when you have just missed them. 3. Snow angels, being beautiful because of the power of an outline to name an absence wholly, being a finger pointing to the inherent fiction of angels and therefore haunting. 4. If the stars have, as they say, been dead for millions of years by the time their light reaches us, then it follows that my retinas are a truer thing to call sky. 5. Dove collides into window, leaving a white dandery imprint of its own body, a crime scene outline saying, "He was here. Take this, the dust of me, and remember the way my body was round and would not move through glass. If nothing else, please, remember the ghosts I leave behind." Well, how are we feeling? How's it going?
Yeah.
All right, that's cool. Vocabulary lessons. That's right. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna do a few more. I'm just gonna keep doing poems. I'm gonna keep doing poems. I don't know if how many of y'all live or have lived in places that are undergoing gentrification, or if folks know what the word gentrification means, or like that concept. But basically, for those who are not familiar with the phenomenon of gentrification, it's essentially when like a neighborhood gets developed, like a poor neighborhood gets developed, and often what that means is like first the artists kind of like start moving into the poor neighborhood and the college students, and then eventually after a while big developers come, or like new businesses start to crop up, rent starts to spike up, more middle and upper class white folks start to move in, the poor folks of color that were living there get pushed out, and it can happen very quickly in certain parts, like in Brooklyn it's happening like super fast, in Oakland it's happening super fast, in Providence it's a sort of a slower process, but it happens everywhere, and it's pretty shitty everywhere. Across the board, shit. So, but like, as like a college grad living in the city where I went to college, as like a person of color, but also as like an East Asian and a light-skinned Asian person, I was like, whoa, who am I? So I wrote this poem. It's called Gentrifier, which is me, maybe. Ooh. The new grocery store sells real cheese, edging out the plastic bodega substitute. The new neighbors know how to feed their children, treat themselves to oysters sometimes, other times to brunch. Finally, some good pastrami around these parts. New cafe on Broadway, new trees in the sidewalk. Everyone can breathe a little easier. Neighborhood association throws a block party, builds a dog park right in the middle of the baseball field. Crime Watch listserv snaps photos of suspicious natives. How'd all these ghosts get in my yard? Cop on speed dial, arrange flowers as the radio croons orders. Rubber on tar, skin on steel. An army of MacBook Pros guarding its French presses. Revival pioneers. Meanwhile, white college grads curse their racist neighbors, get drunk at Olneyville warehouse punk shows, ride their bikes on the right side of the road, say West End like a badge, while folks on the other side of Cranston Street shake their heads and laugh, interrogation lamps burning down their stoops, banks gutting their houses. I look more like the Cambodian kids against that wall than any of my roommates, but feel safest within 2 miles of an espresso machine. Look around at parties and think, fresh saplings, revival pioneers. No folks look at me on my bike and think, Ivy League, dog park, treat yourself to a neighborhood sometimes. None of this land is mine. But our footprints are everywhere. Silent battlefront, we new settlers shove into our back pockets, a lump in our collective throat as we chase a new world, as we sweep the foyer, as we promise we'll help clean up the mess. That's the end of the poem. Isn't it? I think that's my favorite of all awkward moments. The point where the poet finishes the poem, but nobody's sure if they have, and so it's says the last line and then I guess, yeah. That's pretty good. My favorite thing, okay, quick story. My favorite thing that anyone's ever said to me after or during a poem is that I was reading this poem that was like this dark, complicated musing on me as a woman, fearing being attacked as I walk down the street, and the last line is like a quiet and shameful vomit staining my cheeks. And I finished this last line, and a man in the front row just went, "Why?" And then everyone was like, "Oh." It was great. So if you have questions on any of these poems, we can talk afterward. Cool. This poem is called Orientalism Part 2. No, actually, I'll read Part 1 too. There is a Part 1. It's not just like Independent Women Part 2. So was there a Part 1? Never mind. Orientalism Part 1. First one's short, second is a little longer. Orientalism Part 1. What wouldn't you do to be held? Don't tell me you've never taped shut your own mouth. There are many ways to hold water without being called a vase, to drink all the history until it is your only song. Orientalism Part 2. My cousin and her white boyfriend dressed as John Lennon and Yoko Ono for Halloween one year. Deja vu. And sometimes I read that line and people are like, oh, that's a pretty good idea. Oh, thank you. Deja vu got nothing on us yellow girls find ourselves tangle-hearted with white boys. Our doppelgangers are everywhere. We hold hands on the sidewalk and the prophets roll their eyes. At the Korean restaurant, our mirror image is pointing to the menu and pronouncing everything wrong. I look up to catch her winking back, saying, be the beating myth to his Tin Man chest, be sesame oil to his white bread. The textbook tarot cards are snickering dirty secrets again. In line at the movies, there's another me, pressing against my lover's pale twin, simpering doe-eyed babble. From here, it sounds like, be manic pixie in the lantern, twinkling sex pressed against the glass. Let him run his tongue over your strange land, taste only honey. In the magazine, the only woman I could possibly be, there's only one Asian woman in the magazine to begin with. The only woman I could possibly be is spilling from the conqueror's ropey arms. Her lightless eyes will not let me sleep. Be the prize slung over his shoulder, an open bar of middle shelf kink. The more I spit history lessons at their backs, the faster the acid flies back into my own face. Bury the boys who look like your brother and wrap yourself around a picket fence to whom you will only ever be a dream. Each time, my lover kisses the venom from my cheeks, presses the crooked limb of his heart into my balled fists, until one day I look up and see him there, lips nearly singed off, looking more like himself than any ghost. He can't speak, but his palms are saying, please, my love, not every house is haunted. So I throw open all my doors and let him in. In the bathroom, we only take a moment to smile at our reflection before we part the curtain in the mirror and step inside. So this is a poem that I wrote for, yeah, I don't know. It's hard out there, you guys. Folks in interracial relationships, you guys can do it. Don't worry about it. Love is love. Ain't no textbook gonna explain that, right? Anyway, I have so many thoughts. Let's talk afterward. So there's a show that started in Chicago called the Encyclopedia Show, which is this really, really dope show. Yeah. And so every show they have like, it's like an encyclopedia entry, basically. And so it'll be about like bears, and then people will get assigned like different kinds of bears, and then they have to like write poems about them. So this one that I did was, it was the future was the big topic. And my my subtopic that I got was the Jetsons to write about, and so this is my Jetsons poem. And now a special message from Rosie, the Jetsons' robot maid. As housewives go, Jane Jetson is as desperate as they come. Don't let her, I'm only 33 in space years, act fool you. The woman's had more work done than the International Space Station. Bing, bing! The Jetsons hired me when Mrs. J started complaining of finger cramps from operating the home's built-in cooking and cleaning system. Since I've come along, she's kept busy with the new arrivals section at Mooningdale's, while the old Foodoreka cycle sits rusting away in a corner of the kitchen, pots all spilled across the floor like some mechanical carcass. It's the one thing I refuse to clean in this test tube of an apartment. A reminder that somewhere miles below there is still a place where things decay, where the word labor still belongs to the sweat of organic bodies. Bing, bing! My model number is XB500, but they named me after another Rosie, an ancient heroine who brandished her riveter muscles proudly. This was back before labor was seen as a dirty thing, but after the humans forgot about the generations of brown women who never had any choice but to work. Like the other Rosie, I too am a metal worker, and I can lift more than any man. But unlike Rosie, I will not return to the picturesque duties of a housewife when this war is over. Labor is not an outfit that I can just take off, and no one ever gave me any beauty to cast aside. Instead, they taught me to love the glow-in-the-dark complexions of my masters, tied my tubes into a glowing bow. Bing, bing! Merry Christmas, Mr. Jetson. The new year shimmers here in this place miles above the smoldering slums of the surface people. There are days when I think I would prefer to live down there as scrap metal, rusting back into the earth alongside the bones of those who can't afford a sky burial. It's comforting to know that someday this sleek amusement park world will crumble again, and I'll crash like an asteroid back down into those junkyards of deferred dreams, fiber optic posies glowing in my pocket compartment. Ashes, ashes, bing, bing. We all fall down. Thanks. Okay, I'm just gonna do 3 more poems for you guys. This one is called Ode to My Armpit Hairs. Oh! Armpit hairs! You gnarled trees hunchbacking toward the sun. You feared weeds conspiring beneath the porch. You brave umpteen fallen soldiers. For so long, I hardly let you poke your heads above ground before sending you swiftly to the gutter, even during the months you were safely gagged beneath miles of wool. For so long, I thought myself a rich douchebag's gardener, thought I heard crowds clicking their tongues behind me as I stood at the hedges, or else hummed India Ari and ignored your steady march, claimed liberated, but secretly called myself a negligent housewife. Beheaded you again and again, pre-adolescent. Oh, armpit hairs! Even while hand in hand with my girlfriend, I recruited your absence to help me play woman. But now, you flawless undergrowth, you fantastic vacant lot run wild, you precisely scattered unfurl, I am sending up 3 cannon shots and a brass fanfare as you sail to the shower floor. Let this soapy river captain carry you on to your next great adventure. I don't know why I wrote that. It's true. I wanted to feel smooth again, just for a little while. Feel the water roll over all the not you. Be a fingertip slip and slide again. But this isn't a breakup letter, and really I'm a heart grow fonder kind of girl. Just wanted to say thank you for your unfathomable optimism, for your untiring climb and fall, for being the bouquet of shape shift that I needed to spin my own way home. sometimes when I go perform in schools, and usually the thing that I say beforehand is to say like, make some noise if you thought puberty was awesome! And then there's like one douchey guy that's like, ugh, and then everyone else is like, ew! And then they don't listen to the poem. So I gotta figure something else out. The other thing that I often say before, you know, when I start getting into this section of my set, which is a lot of poems about gender and about my gender identity, is that you know, even though this event is to kick off Asian Am Week, which is really wonderful, and to or as part of Asian Am Week, I don't know what the schedule is. Oh, yeah, all right, word. Hey, read the contract. You know, even though what we're talking about, you know, what this event is part of for the rest of the week is about racial identity and ethnic identity, and you know, the politics of claiming this term Asian American, which is a political term. Asian American, let's all remember, is a political term and not a term to describe any heritage. But you know, it's not, you know, for me, my race and my gender and my sexuality always are part and parcel, are part of the same thing, right? It's not like you know, we're not like Asian on Monday and like women on Tuesday, and like, you know, it doesn't work that way, right? So I'm always, these identities I carry with me everywhere I go, every single day of my life, so that's why I'm doing these poems. Alright, cool. Speaking of which, this poem is called Just Like a Woman, like that beautiful and yet fucked up Bob Dylan song. Alright, starts with an accusation. Girls are like people, except they don't have dicks. Now, say it like a woman. Woman is everything other. Everything other than single-stroke, oneness-standing, skyscraper, prick-perfect, sword-smiting, quick-shot logic. Say it like a woman. When I fight with men, the dark threads of my throat fly in all directions. You look for the intersections of words and facts in my cobwebs, but listen, little fruit fly. Every maybe never word I say is true and felt, real, violent, honey, slow, burning. Where's the sentence in that? Says the part of me that still lies in a graying nightgown under the piercing weight of numbers and proper names. No. Now I have this no clawing at my palms to face that breaking little girl in me. She who looks deer-like over her shoulder, walking alone at night, lies speechlessly, thinks I am not single-stroke number one, so I must be zero. One less, no one. Stop. Let the numbers, let the mores and the lessons drop from your fingers as you stand on your real and violent legs and say yourself like a woman. Say there's nothing hollow about me, nor any single stubborn certitude. Instead, slow circling two breasts sweetly musking loops infinity around my heart. This isn't to say that we are symbols to be read, although we do crash brassly, caress our curves outward. My words reach halo limits, always a full pulsing woman that I am, always earthful, so many different landscapes and round, and like rain on the ocean, always kissing myself. Baby, I've got more lips hiding in my skin than you'll